Welcome to our podcast, Broker Banner Denver, where we are breaking down barriers to home ownership. I'm your host, Kim Davis, the real estate expert.
I'm Patrick Williams, the mortgage guy. We're here to inform and educate about the home buying and financing process.
And on today's podcast, we're going to talk about the numbers for, October?
October.
I want to say September, but it's October. Nope. And then mortgage update.
Yeah,
then,
Fed rate cut.
Yeah. After the election. So there's some new.
Kind of an idea of maybe with this new administration, what's going to happen there. So we'll talk about that. But
not talking politics.
No.
Yes. Just how it is affected.
What the policy does. Exactly. Yes. So a little bit of snow.
A little bit. 40, I think. I saw news
some places
Carroll got like 40 some inches or something like that.
No, I don't think you got that much.
Okay, maybe
I think there
30.
was some places in Colorado.
Maybe it was 30 some inches.
Yeah, I mean, I got 24, 25 at my house. So
okay, then maybe it was 30 some inches.
Maybe.
See, maybe we should.
There was some places that got like 50 or 48 or something, but I don't think it was King Carroll.
Totals Ken
She likes
Carroll.
to, make the numbers like, because we're close to foothills. I have a friend
we
in Applewood.
We are in the foothills.
I have a friend in Applewood. He said he got less than I did.
I'm sorry. You're right. It says King Carroll, 20.8 inches.
Yeah, I got more snow in my house than you did at your house.
Crazy.
Yeah, I shoveled the deck off because I was a little worried. Like it was so much snow and it was super heavy and wet.
What does it say?
So yeah, that was fun. It was like I'm really struggling with some seasonal depression. I have to be honest.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like first of all,
we just didn't see the sun for 4 days. It was a lot. That's a lot for Denver.
And like we went from we fell back, so the time change, and then it was like we went from 80 degrees to snow for 5 days straight. Like, so it went from like all at one time. It was really, I was like, oh, this is terrible.
I know. I've always joked around about people who live in Denver always think like, hey, 2 days of just overcast, it's not okay. People start to get weird.
It's no joke.
And how do people do that in the rest of the country? Because there's only a few states that have as much sun.
No, it's true.
Arizona, Florida.
Yeah.
And I would even tell you California is not as sunny. Because they have like June gloom and May gray. I mean, that's horrible.
And when you wake up there, like usually there's like the overcast, like there's fog, like sea fog, and then it burns off.
And of course, we're talking about if you're close to the coast. LA.
Yeah.
San Fran,
but no, I was
San
actually
Diego.
talking to somebody on Sunday. She was from Chicago. She was wearing like a bear shirt and mentioned that my daughter.
The Bears.
Mentioned that my daughter was looking at a school in Chicago, and she's like, "Oh, she's gonna have to adjust." Yes. And I just don't think she understands she thinks she's gonna love it. She just is all about that. Like, I want to sit in a coffee shop or a library and study away.
I mean, if you like to be cold.
I don't like to be cold.
I don't either.
No. And I mean, I can't imagine the couple of the schools we looked at are right on the lake.
Yes.
Like right on the lake.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine it is very cold.
Are you worried as a dad about crying in Chicago?
Funny that you say that, actually. I just sent an article to my wife about 2 University of Chicago students who were held up at gunpoint in Hyde Park. Which is really close to, that is where University of Chicago is. So it's right, basically, very close to campus.
I had a friend who used to live in Lincoln Park.
Which Lincoln Park I don't think is as bad because that's further on, that's on the north side of Chicago.
I don't remember.
Hyde Park, we visited 3 schools. University of Chicago's in Hyde Park, and that was the furthest south. Okay. The other 2 were much more north on the north side of Chicago, which is not as
weird.
We're
talking about Chicago, being that we're a Denver podcast.
That is weird. But so, seasonal depression.
Seasonal depression.
Yes, that's where we started. So I'm struggling with the seasonal depression. But I got out.
The sun's out.
I did, and I got out and I walked. We're watching somebody's dog for them, and so we got out.
Your neighbor across the street?
No, no, it's
I don't
somebody's
know.
kind of in between houses. They sold, and then their new house is not going to be ready.
I've done that too. Oh, see, these are the things that some realtors and mortgage brokers do. Taking clients' dogs.
His name.
I've housed people in my basement. I mean, they were my friends.
Right.
But,
I've not done that.
Yeah.
His name is Milo, and he's like a little Shih Tzu. So he's
I don't know
he's
if you
a
can
cute,
say that.
Yeah,
Just
that's
kidding.
how it's pronounced.
I know.
So he's a very nice dog. Yeah. So I walked in yesterday and got outside and the sun was on my face and I felt better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're out of your seasonal depression?
No, but the thing is like my depression kind of coincides with how much I'm able to bike. Oh, and so like it's I mean, I'm
There's
sorry.
more
it's true.
to life than biking.
Well, yeah, I know, but biking makes life like just that much better.
Get on a Peloton and have
did.
the sun.
I got on the damn bike today. It's not the same. It doesn't do the same for me.
It is not.
It keeps me in shape, but
yeah.
So it like the time change is one thing because then you can't bike after work, right? It's dark at like 4:30.
Right.
But then to have 2 or 3 feet of snow come all at the same time, and there's no mountain biking for a really long time now. That all hit at one time. So it was like the 1-2 punch.
Bike and do some gravel trails or just ride it on the concrete.
I know. Which maybe by the end of the week, the majority of the snow will be melted.
I already see bikers out.
Yeah, I don't like getting wet.
Speaking of not mountain biking, but skiing. Ski season's coming up, right?
Yeah.
You can start skiing. Aren't
That's
you
true.
going to switch over to your
Yes,
skiing?
I love skiing.
I mean, A-Bay is open and Keystone, right?
Yeah, Keystone. I think almost after this storm, like I think Breck's open. I think
did everything open?
I think a lot did. Yeah, I think Winter Park opened last weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. I do, skiing, I love skiing. I tend to like to get away from people when I'm outdoors, and skiing anymore is not that.
It is. So I don't know if did we talk about last season?
I'm sure we did. I've been told we banter too much. I think we're probably coming up on our banter limit.
5 minutes.
I might have started a little late.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What about last ski season? Did you get a pass this year? You guys
no,
skiing?
I didn't.
No.
Okay. We don't have a condo this year up in the mountains, and I don't like that drive. I know that's horrible. And I snowboarded, so I've snowboarded since I was 18, so, only like 10 years. And
I'm sorry. Yes, 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. I'm lying. But, and, I've gotten a little older. The falls hurt a little bit more.
Skiing is the way to go.
You want me to get back into skiing? I don't know. I don't know if I want to suffer through the learning process of it. I know how a ski should
It is hard to take a step back, though, when you know I'm better snowboarder. When you know that
you can just get on a snowboard, not have to worry about it. The problem is the people.
Yeah.
They just stop in the middle of
well, not all people, just your husband.
Oh my gosh.
So you know what though? I did hear, and this is what I might do. My daughter's a senior this year. So we're like, if we get up for 2 weekends, we'll be lucky. We just got 4 packs.
Right.
But next season I'll be empty nester.
I think next season we might do it.
Yeah, and so they've come out with a pass at Winter Park that is weekday only.
Oh. Yes, I knew that actually. Because our friends.
That's something I will probably
tried to
be
talk us
looking into next year.
Doing that this year.
Yeah.
And we just decided not
I was close.
We are in the middle of other stuff. Okay, so let's talk about October stats.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
So.
Banter's over.
Banter is over. You never know. Sometimes there's banter in between. So.
That's true.
October 2024.
Yeah.
And Halloween. Halloween.
Halloween.
Yeah.
We already bantered.
Yeah. Well, it was, we had a few candy bars left over.
Yeah. I have like 3 trick-or-treaters. So we're at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah. And the long,
almost as long as it takes to get back into the valley. So what does October's numbers look like?
So, well, from October 2023 to October 2024, as far as active listings, huge difference. We had 10,940, and that was at the month's end. So that was at the end of October. That same time a year ago was about 7,400, just almost 75.
Yeah.
So we are down.
That's almost up.
Or up, sorry, up
50%.
Yeah, 46%.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge increase in inventory.
But once again, great time to buy because there's a lot out there. I think that we actually saw more houses go on the market recently in November, end of October and November. I have a few clients who...
I know that you've had a lot of listing activity. I know some other realtors that I work with have had a lot of listing activity. And to be honest, the buyer activity has increased over the last couple of weeks as well.
The buyer have increased just ever since the election. And today is the, 12th? So, I mean, the election was only a week ago.
A week ago.
Yeah, it was a week ago today. And so I mean,
Yeah,
my phone is
I
ringing
have
again.
felt-
We had things go under contract this weekend. So
The buyer that I just got under contract today,
yeah.
that house went on the market. Two full price offers first weekend.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and thankfully they
Right.
went with mine. But so there's definitely a lot more activity. I think a lot more people are seeing.
Yeah, I think people are just waiting for the election to get over, and then we're seeing the pickup, and so which is not a normal pickup at this time of year. During,
Well, typically
Denver.
this is kind of the
slow
slowest time of
time.
year.
Yeah.
As we head into the holidays,
Right.
people aren't wanting to put their house on the market or move or do anything.
But look at this. So new listings as of October, 4,691 new listings. Last year it was 3,800.
Okay.
And then pending, this is surprising too. So we had almost 3,600 homes go under contract in October, and a year ago was about 3,000. So about 578 more.
But that's
this year,
still,
or
I mean, that's
600
a
more.
pretty
Yeah.
substantial increase of almost 8%.
Right.
And month over month, too. When you look at the end of September, under pendings was less. I mean,
Right.
not a lot less,
Yes.
but still less.
Just, yeah, a few
and that's
less,
not
yeah.
typical.
That is not typical.
The last quarter of the
Correct.
year is typically one of the slowest.
It is.
Yeah.
And so as you can see, closed, we went from September to October of this year. We had more close in the month of October too. 3,443 versus last year was about 3,200, just
Yep.
under 3,200. And then in September, 3,364.
I think we're seeing it. We're starting to see the trend here, Kim.
Yeah, well, and then
Yeah.
let's look at average close price. That went up.
Wow.
Gosh, 30,000?
Almost 4%.
Yeah, almost 5% month over month, year over year.
Year over year, 4%, but
Yeah.
5%. So, I mean,
Correct.
we're already seeing demand increase.
Right.
We're seeing prices increase.
Increase.
So if you're, beat a dead horse here, but if you're thinking about getting into the market, now's the time to do it. It really is.
I
Yeah.
mean, if
I think we're starting to just see this is it. Like you still have a great opportunity.
yes,
But I mean, even with these October numbers, we're already starting to see
So
it.
I don't know if I said it, but the average price about 708,000. The median, of course, which is not the average, just right in the middle. So you're taking all those luxury multi-million-dollar house all the way down to condos. It's about 600,000.
Right.
Is the median price in the Denver metro area.
Which
So
we were 575 in September, so that's a
Right.
that's a
As a median,
yeah,
yes.
and 581 October of 2023. So we were kind of flat up until
Yes.
last month
correct.
in October.
And so you're seeing that, and I think we're going to continue to see that price soar a little bit. Not soar, let's say a gradual increase.
Upslope.
Yeah, upslope.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like we're doing the weather.
We were talking
The
about all
jet
the snow. I heard
stream and the
upslope on this
upslope.
one, so I was like, "Oh man, it's gonna snow like crazy."
But what have we been talking about? What have I been talking about forever? I've been saying, hey, average days on market, right?
Yes.
And like we're going to continue to see that tick up. I think we'll see it still tick up next month too. There's a chance it could tick down because we're getting more under contract. But average days on market is 44 days. So remember that's average. If you're thinking about listing your home, expect to be on the market for about a month and a half. But I tell my clients 90 days, like expect 90 days because, that's
If you come in at 45, then
Right.
that's great.
That's great.
It's half, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, that's if you're priced right. You need to be priced correctly.
Well, and
now,
I think that is a huge key is that somebody who understands the market is willing to have maybe a hard conversation with you
Right.
because you have an expectation of what you think your house is worth and
Yes.
what you'd like to come on the market
Yes.
for. I just worked with a client and I think honestly, they went on a little too high.
Yeah.
And what happened was
happens.
is that just sat. It sat and nothing happened. He actually pulled it off the market and is renting it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
Well, so
I just the importance of
Right.
being priced correctly and working with somebody who understands the market and is willing to
tell you the
Yeah.
hard news because that is hard,
Yeah.
especially, there's an expectation. Sellers have expectations, but you just have to put those expectations in there.
Yeah,
you know,
manage the expectations
Yes.
and help people understand, know what is coming. And,
Right.
And when
and the next stat that we're going to say kind of shows the closed price to list price ratio, so that tells you how we're doing as far as pricing. So just last month we got, they're about the same. It's about 98%.
a little lower, but not much.
98.66% is what you are getting. So, of course, back a few years ago, you were getting like 110, 130% over asking
bonkers.
To where you're getting just under, and those are probably, and that's what it's listed to. So that doesn't take into account, price drops. So.
Right. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Let's say, I need a new roof. And so through inspection, I get a seller's concession for that roof, and they give me some money towards, the roof.
Right.
Is that calculated in there?
It does not, because what happens is, like, let's say, just to make numbers easy, right? So you buy a house for $500,000, you're under contract, and then we're like, hey, it needs a new roof, and you need to put that on there, or they're going to give you a concession, $10,000 concession. It's still going to show you bought it for $500,000 and then had a concession. So that does not really.
That doesn't affect the price.
No.
Okay. No. I didn't think so, but I thought it was a good question.
No, it's a great question.
Okay.
That's the difference between mortgages and realtors, right? They're different. Yeah, I have a lot of questions about insurance and title, but
maybe we can have Brett back on.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brett, and then we'll have a title person.
Or maybe a different insurance guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Get some different opinions.
Different opinions. Yeah. That's true. That would be nice.
I'm actually getting a beer with an insurance guy later on tonight.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
So if you have insurance or title questions, let us know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, we can go into detached and attached, but we don't need to make this too boring. I mean,
we can keep it high level overview. So, I mean, based on this though, big picture, right?
Big picture. Things are trending up, right? And prices are going back up. Of course, listings though are actually down. I mean, if you look at active, that I said, just under 11, so 10,940. September was 11,115. So we're getting more houses, under contract, and less people are putting their house on the market, even though more listings came on. No, less listings came on, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it was about 7% less from the month before. Yeah, but I do think
still,
that
4,600
in
new
October,
listings in October.
What'll be really interesting is November numbers.
Yes.
I know we keep saying that. It's hard for us because it's the 12th of November and we can feel the activity.
Right.
And so we're backwards looking here.
Right.
And so all of a sudden it's like, well, what's November doing? Right. We're
exactly
like, it's kind of similar between interest rates.
Right.
The dichotomy there. It's like the Fed, they're backwards looking.
Right.
So they're making adjustments based on old news.
Right.
Where the 10-year and mortgage rates are forward looking, and they're anticipating what the market is going to do. And that's kind of, I think, where we're at here.
And I think that, even though we popped the champagne and all that good stuff when the Fed dropped and we were super excited, we do understand that interest rates are not. And, Patrick's talked about that for a long time.
Yeah, I think the key is that the long-standing higher for longer, like that was over, and that was finally done. We thought it was going to be done a year ago, so there was a celebration to that.
We may have to re-pop champagne because that didn't last long.
It was about 3 weeks. We had the refi boom of 2024. It lasted about 3 weeks. But I will say, rates still today compared to a year ago are so much better.
Yeah.
Right? And take advantage of this market that we're talking about. Right. Because as this market, if we continue on the pace that we're seeing month over month right now, March is going to be crazy.
Right. And it could be, multiple offers again. We're seeing them, but not as
the average. Right. So, I mean, we can transition into my conversation if you want to about rates and the Fed and what's going on there. But I think we are starting to see the beginning. Like the Fed has cut. That news is out there. So people's expectations are that rates are coming down, and they are. But if you wait until March, you may have missed an amazing opportunity.
I do think, just kind of re-looking at these stats really quick, one stat, that is the same. When we said, the stats before were detached and attached homes. So single family homes and condos and townhomes. But if you break those out to detached, you can see the closed price average from September to October went up. So we were at, I'm going to give you exact numbers here, 748,694 in September. And then in October at close, 778,443. So you are seeing just month over month, that was a 4% increase. Now, over the year to year, it was only 1.42%.
Okay.
So we did definitely hit a lull there.
Kind of a plateau, maybe a little bit, yeah.
And it's just starting to come back up. But I think that's a pretty big number. And the median goes from 630 to 650. 650,000. So that's on detached. And then unattached, which is we've seen that number because condos are having some issues, as we've talked about, insurability. So if you look at the median there, the median price of homes that are sold, 405 from September to 401. But if you look at the closed price on average, it did go up also, 454,000 to 465,000. So as we were just saying, the prices are trending up. So don't, I know people.
I kind of fell asleep there. I'm sorry.
Sorry, people still think that there's a bubble, but no bubble.
No
bubble.
Not, there's no bubble gonna pop.
What are you saying? My numbers are boring? Is that what you're saying?
I think you snored on me one time. I was just trying to repay that. I did. You lost me a little bit because you dove in real deep. But I think that's important. I think it's important to see.
The trend. The trend is prices are starting to move up again.
I agree.
It's an earlier time than usual to see prices move up.
And November.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, so it like
this is usually when you see the plateau or the slight dip, and then come March it starts to, and then April, May.
I have two new buyers who are like, hey, I want to get pre-qualified.
Yeah.
Like as we head into Thanksgiving, we're a couple weeks out of Thanksgiving.
Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah to them.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's not typical.
It's weird. Do they have a realtor?
Unfortunately.
Well, okay.
If they don't,
you mean you work with other realtors other than me?
I'm sorry. Is that news? Is that news that I'm?
Oh, is that how you make your living? Is relationships with realtors? Okay.
Well, if you want to send me enough deals that I can be your only, that's it.
Too much pressure.
Yeah.
Too much pressure.
So I do think that come March, I think it's going to be a little bonkers out there.
Yeah, we've been saying this for years.
We have.
Yeah.
But
So
but now the numbers are starting to show.
Okay,
it, right?
So you were starting to say we had the little 2024 refi boom.
We did.
For 3 weeks. That was after the Fed went, yay.
Actually, no, it was before.
Oh, was it before? Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So we actually, our low for the year was basically the day before the Fed cut.
Oh.
And then once the Fed cut, the rates started to go back up.
Right.
We saw an increase in interest rates of almost 3/4 of a point over that month after the rate cut.
Did they creep into the sevens? Some places
we were just under, depending on, we might have seen a 7, but we were right there.
Of course, depends on credit.
There's a lot of variables
DTI,
there. Loan to value.
Right.
So, but we're still seeing a lot of volatility in the market. Like today, so Friday we were down, like rates went down sharply. Then today, bond markets were closed yesterday, Veterans Day, which thank you if you served our country. Yes. We appreciate your service. Today, they're in the opposite direction, 50 points. So it's just really volatile. I do think the bond market is anticipating the new administration being business friendly, cheap money. Yes. So that's favorable. If you are interested in buying a new house, I think that's good news.
Yes.
Because we'll anticipate seeing more rate cuts. As of right now, we're kind of at about a 50-50 chance of a December rate cut from the Fed. They did just cut last week by 25 basis points or a quarter. So that's our second cut. But again, Fed is backwards looking.
Right.
And the 10-year yield, which is what mortgage rates
Right.
are based on primarily.
So then I guess the question is it more for the public that gets more excited even though mortgage rates have already anticipated those things happening? So why do us as an industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
The real estate industry, so mortgage realtors, why do you think that we continue to talk about Fed dropping even though I know that there is kind of a trickle down effect, or
there
it
is.
does, but
the Fed, just to be clear, the Fed
Yes.
funds rate, which is like overnight borrowing rate, business to business, is completely separate from
the 10-year.
And
Yes.
what mortgage rates are based off of. I think the big piece of it is the news. Okay,
yes. So it's the public.
It's the public
I would
because
tell you that when rates were going down, when they were at the lowest, I mean, people weren't really talking about it.
No.
But then all of a sudden, the Fed drops, and it's
and that was actually the point.
what's
The day
reported.
before the Fed cut
Yes.
was 2024 low.
Low.
Yeah, and so that's the interesting piece is that the rates were the lowest right as they cut. But I think it's the news. People hear of the rate cut. I would
Right.
say most people, unless you listen to this podcast, you don't know
Unless
that
you're in the know.
That's
This is
right.
insider info.
That's exactly right. They don't understand the difference,
Right.
So they hear the Fed cut, and so interest rates are coming down, and so all of a sudden activity starts to pick up,
Right.
And so I think we're seeing that still, but overall the trend
Right.
is rates are coming down.
Right.
They have been coming down. Last year at this time we were at 8%.
Oh my goodness!
Remember that?
I blinked.
She's blocked it out.
I don't.
She's
yeah.
blocked it out.
I don't want to remember that.
Yeah. So I mean, right now we're between 6.75% and 7%, which is not bad.
Right.
And I think people have to understand the history of interest rates. I do think mid to second half, hopefully we'll start to see some 5% up front
that
again.
keeps getting pushed. I don't like that. No, I want first quarter.
Okay.
5%.
I'll do it. Let me see what I can do. I did
mean,
close one
that
in the
is-
fives
Yeah.
refinance.
Of course, you
that was
can
timed right.
Now, here are the things. Like, are you hearing people that are closing them in the fives? Absolutely. But that's because they're buying down points.
Yeah, they're paying
More than likely.
points.
And when you look on a website, hey, what are interest rates? What you always need to look is points paid, right? They don't really tell you. Like, you'll see advertisements in the fives.
Unfortunately, there is a law, and there's a lot of laws around advertised rates and
Right.
in all of that. And unfortunately, I do think there's a lot of misinformation out
Absolutely.
there. I do think you have to compare apples to apples.
Yes.
And if you are looking at interest rates, you also need to ask for an itemization to understand how much it costs to get that interest rate.
Right.
Because if you're not looking at the APR, which is the total cost of doing the loan, you're not really comparing apples to apples.
Annual
I could get
percentage
somebody today 5.5,
Yeah.
but they were going to have to pay a lot in points. And so I could say 5.5 all day long and not mention those points, but that's, I just don't
And
believe
that
that
still is something
it
that
happens.
you can negotiate as a buyer.
It
You
is.
can ask a seller to help you pay down some points, or you ask for closing costs and use them towards
and you could
paying
use
down
them
points.
to
Right.
buy down your rate,
Now,
which is
is
one
that
strategy.
smart? Is that smart right now?
No.
If you think that you can refi here,
Yep.
you might as well use that money to something else.
Yeah. I
or
don't-
get a lower price.
I don't. Yeah,
or
I would.
lower
I would
mortgage.
just. I would
Yeah.
just get it lower price, and then refinance in 6 to
Right.
12 months. That would be the strategy that I take. But we do have a lot of news coming out this week. Tomorrow is CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, another inflation number. That's going to have a pretty big impact. There's also the Core Consumer Price Index, and then we've got some jobless claims coming out on Thursday, and there's retail sales numbers, and then Fed speak. So the volatility is
Talk
going to
about
continue.
falling asleep. Were you bored?
Okay, see, she just got mad now. She has to get me back. But all of those, each one of those items that I just mentioned can affect rates. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just don't, that's why.
So in the end, to wrap it up,
Wrap
rates
it up.
are they're still in the low sixes,
Mid-
low 6s, and we're expecting them to
6.75.
continue to go down.
Well, so we've been saying this for a long time, and I'm not going to back off of this strategy.
Right.
Which is date the
He's
rate
all
and
in.
marry the house, right? Like right now is the time to buy.
Right.
Go in. You were seeing prices already start to increase. We're seeing increased,
Yes.
movement in the market. Get into that house now. Get it for a good price. Come back to me in 6 to 12 months. We'll get you that 5% interest rate when they come down. And then, so if you can put up with the higher payment for 6, 8, 12 months, I mean, just so you know too, I don't know if people are aware of this. Like,
tell us.
Somebody who closes on their loan right now in November,
right?
Their first payment is not going to be until January.
Yes. That's
so
right.
you actually get to skip sometimes one. Sometimes two.
2 payments.
You always get to skip one, but sometimes, like if you close at the very beginning of the month, you don't make a payment for 2 months. So I know there's a lot of people at Christmas, man, that payment, that rent payment that you would have paid.
And you know what? I was strategic. I bought. My husband and I, we bought our house in November 4th, 2019. In 2019, and I did that on purpose so I wouldn't have a payment until January.
Yeah.
So got us through the Christmas holidays.
Exactly.
Saved up some money. It's great. So yeah, that was
there's a lot of ways to kind of strategize about the timing, but I do think now is the time. Rates, I think in general, maybe one day they're going to be higher than the last day or whatever. They're pretty volatile right now, but in general, I think we're coming down. The Fed, we've got another shot of another rate cut here in December. I think the new administration that's going to be in place starting next year is going to be in favor of cheap money. So that's going to help, I think. And I know I've heard affordability, housing affordability is a big issue.
Especially here in Denver. So.
Yeah. So that kind of wraps that up.
Thank you for the update. And hopefully, of course, if anything big happens, we'll do another podcast and tell you. But if you don't know what was your saying? The Date the Rate, Marry the House?
You should
know
that.
We did a whole podcast on Date the Rate, Marry the House. So watch that.
Yeah. I mean, it talks about the advantages.
Right.
And so take a look at that one. But I think, is that it? You want to give me a hard time about anything else?
No. I mean, I'm just now waking up again.
So yes, she does. Well, I guess that's it. So if you found this informative, helpful, know anybody that might have, you can find us, give us a like, give us a share, iTunes, Spotify.
That's right.
And YouTube. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little rusty. It's been a bit.
Whole 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
See you guys soon.
Next time.